Alright guys, welcome to my channel, and you want to learn how to drift? That's cool, you came to the right place. Now first things first, if you want to learn how to drift and you're a beginner, having your controls or your buttons down is a first step to success. So I'll go ahead and show you my setup. Now go ahead and pause the video if you want to, but remember, the less you have to worry about your controls, the more you can focus on your drifting. Alright, now next step is choosing your vehicle, and this is important because when you're a beginner, you need to start off simple, then work your way up. Like, there's no need to be drifting a car that has over 1,000 wheels. Like, this ain't no formula drift. So remember, start simple, then work your way up, just like that. Alright, so now I made a small list of rules to use if you're a beginner learning how to drift. It's just 3 simple rules. Now number 1, the car must be rear-wheel drive. Now you can drift all-wheel drive, but I just want to keep things simple, so just pick a rear-wheel drive car. Number 2, the car must be stock. And what I mean by stock is no upgrades, no nothing. The goal is, when you're a beginner, is you're just trying to learn the car. So like I said, I don't want you drifting with 1,000 horsepower, 1,000 wheel horsepower. Just keep things simple, stock. And number 3, this is optional, but I would like you to pick a V8. And the reason why I say that is because V8s have natural torque. And what I mean by that is you'll be able to get away with being at a higher gear at a certain turn. Like for example, maybe if you're trying to drift this turn and you're in 4th gear instead of 3rd, having natural torque from a V8, for example, can get you through that turn compared to a 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder. So at least just try to pick a V8. And that's my 3 rules. Okay, cool. So now you got your controls down and your vehicle of choice. I'm driving an Aston Martin. And now what you want to do is you want to go into your car settings to make sure everything is dialed in. So obviously I'm in my drift setting, L1, R1. Okay, so your traction control has to be off. Okay, it has to be off. Now for your tires, it depends on the type of drifter, but typically comfort hards are the way to go. Now I've been drifting since Gran Turismo 5, and we've been using comfort hards ever since. If you have more horsepower, you can probably go up to medium, but typically comfort hards are the way to go, front and rear. Don't worry about your brakes. Your suspension has to be stock. Like I said, keep things simple, learn about your car. And that's basically it. Even your diff, it needs to be stock. Just standard, don't mess with it. Okay, manual transmission. And that's it. You're basically done for your drift setting. Now for your driving options, obviously have a manual transmission. I already talked about your tires, your traction, and now your ABS. Now, assisted braking system, it depends if you want it set to default, weak, or off. I typically have mine off because it gives me the ability to lock up my front brakes on purpose. But that's just my preference when it comes to drifting, and that's what I want you to set right before you can actually start drifting. Alright, so we're finally at the track, and I want to teach you guys about my first drifting technique. And I ain't gonna hold you, I don't know the proper name for this, but what I personally call it is a body roll technique. And the body roll technique is a technique where you purposely throw your car off balance to start drifting. Typically you don't have to use the handbrake to start this drift, but I'll try to show you it on this first turn. Alright, not so bad. And now what I'll try to do is perform this technique at every major corner of this track. Okay, not so bad, Let me see if I can link this. Okay, not so bad. And when you're watching this video, I just want you to look at my controller inputs just to use things as a reference, because the goal is to understand the concept and then try to apply it by yourself. Alright, and that'll be for the first technique, and I'll show you guys the next one. Alright guys, so now for my next technique that I want to teach you guys is the handbrake technique. Now currently I'm driving the Corvette and the car's still stock. I'm just trying to prove to you guys that any V8 can be used and learned how to drift. Now this is the handbrake technique where you typically just use your handbrake to initiate or start the drift. Now just like my first technique, I'll show you guys on the first corner on how to do it, just a showcase. And that was the pretty good example of how to do this technique. Now I'll just show you guys on every major turn. And realize when you're doing this technique, there are some cases where you have to hold down your handbrake button or just tap it. It all depends. But the main goal is to be able to throw your car off balance, just like the body roll, so you can drift. And a perfect example of me using this technique is coming up at this corner, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alright. Alright, so not so bad. That is the handbrake technique. Alright, so now for my last technique, it's kind of hard to explain to you guys without just showing you, and it's just using your brakes. Now there are some cases when you just have to use your brakes. Now once you've mastered the body roll technique and the handbrake technique, depending on the scenario, you might have to use your brakes. And since my ABS is off, I can lock it on command. So now what I'm going to try to do is I'll try to link the entire track in my stock RCF just to show you guys it all depends on the scenario when you have to use your brakes. But I'm still using my body roll technique and my handbrake technique to continue drifting.
Stupid.
Okay.
Stupid.
Oh man.